It is 5:44 in the morning, and the reason why I'm up is because it's happened again. One of you has made such a great comment on my videos that it sparked an entire video idea. And that is this one right here about how no one should be using personal connections. And Max, at least I think that's his name based off his user ID, is 100% correct here. No one should be using personal connections in Power BI. And that's why in today's video, we're going to be using AI to build out a, API request to identify all the personal connections that exist in a workspace or an tenant. And I said exist, but I really probably should say are used in a workspace or in a tenant. All right, but before we get into that, I've got to introduce myself. Hi, my name's Ned. I work in business intelligence and I'm a Microsoft MVP with a focus on Power BI. And today we are going to be using a little bit of AI. We're going to be doing some API requests. We're going to be doing pretty much everything I love to do in these videos, and that is solving real problems. And before we solve this problem, if you could do me a favor, go on over and give this video a thumbs up and subscribe. It would mean a lot to the channel. All right, let's start coding. So we're going to start off using the free version of Claude, and we're using the free version so that way any of you can follow along with me and use the methods that we talk about and I demonstrate in this video to solve problems completely for free. It's not going to require an expensive subscription. And we're going to start with Claude because it's, well, how I start to solve most of my problems these days. And one of the things that you guys have let me know is you'd rather watch me solve a problem than see me talk about a solution I've already figured out. So you're coming on this journey with me. So we're going to start by pasting a question into Claude. And we're going to say, hey, I want to identify where any and all personal connections are used in Microsoft Power BI, both at a tenant and workspace level. And we're going to hit send. And while that's going on, I'm going to talk about what a personal connection is. A personal connection in Microsoft Power BI is something that's linked to you specifically as a user. Now, you shouldn't want to use a personal connection because what happens if you quit your job or you get hit by a bus? All of a sudden, all of your reports break. So Claude has identified a few different ways for you to discover where personal connections are used. One, in the UI, you can actually just see it. Two, you can use PowerShell, which Claude is recommending, but honestly, not what I'm going to be using. And three, the one we've landed on that we're going to be demoing in this video, which is you can use the Power BI REST API. And the reason why I'm going to be using the Power BI REST API is because you can use Python in a Microsoft Fabric notebook. And by the way, there's a few others here, right? You can activity log, restricting data governance, workspace level discovery, right? We start to get through these. But again, we're going to be going and we're going to be using the REST API because I like solutions that are self-contained and don't require anyone to have any special access. And in a Microsoft Fabric notebook, you can request a personal token. Now, before you try to do anything with the Microsoft Power BI or Fabric APIs, I would recommend checking out and seeing if Semantic Link Labs has already done or automated that API call for you. Because way too often in my experience, I spend a lot of time building out an API call and it was already pretty much done for me via Semantic Link Labs. Now, you can view the documentation of Semantic Link Labs by going to semantic-link-labs.readthedocs.io, and I'll link that down below in the video description. Because we're going to be looking into something around connections, I can go ahead and I can search for connections. I'm going to misspell it. And you'll see that there's actually a SEMPI Labs connections package. Now, if we scroll on down, there is a function down here that is list item connections that I think would solve this. And basically for return what we're looking for, which is all of a given item's connections. But that wouldn't be any fun and that wouldn't make a great video. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to try to use the Claude skills that exist in the Semantic Link Labs package to design our own custom function that can return all of the items that are using personal connections in a given workspace. Now, because I'm using the free version of Claude for this video, so you can follow along without spending any money, I do have to clone this repository locally on my own. And so I've installed Git and I've installed the path variable to Git. So I can go git clone and then pass the GitHub link. And it'll go ahead and clone this GitHub link from GitHub itself all the way down. onto my computer. I should then be able to navigate into the cloned repository, and there should be a folder called Claude. And in here, there should be skill files that tell Claude how to interact with this package. Now, remember, I am in the free version of Claude, so I am severely limited as to what I can and can't do, but I can drag over these files. And once Claude loads them, I can say, use these skill files to write me a API request that I can run out of a Fabric notebook to identify any semantic model using a personal connection. And I can go ahead and hit run, and it should process the skill files and come back with some Python. And after a few minutes, it did. It came back with some beautifully formatted Python, a little gateway here, but after putting it in Microsoft Fabric, I noticed some pretty much immediate errors. So I just copied and pasted this code directly from Claude. The first thing is it's trying to call it on my workspace, and my workspace in Microsoft Power BI has a lowercase w, and the API it's trying to use is cap sensitive. Not only that, the API won't work on personal workspaces, and on the try statements right here, and well, it does have both a try and an except. It's not catching the error. So it's not actually printing the errors if it were to run into anything. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add this accept exception as E and then have it print the errors, which to me seems like a pretty obvious thing that you might want to know, right? You want to know if your code is not working. Now, after running this to update this code, and oh, by the way, I did have to install Semantic Link Labs, I can go ahead and I can run this. Now, as you can see, we're going to get a error, right? Because calling group APIs is not permitted to personal workspaces, but I do have another workspace over here called dev. Now, this other workspace does have this semantic model card UDF. And if we go over here and we go down into settings, what you'll notice is that in the data source credentials right down here, if we go edit credentials, right, and we go sign on in, this will start to use a personal connection. All right, so if we go over here into connection, you can see that it maps to a personal cloud connect. So if this code is working, when I run this on my dev workspace, what it should do is it should identify that there's one semantic model in that workspace using a personal connection. Unfortunately, that is not what it does. So we need to kind of take a deeper look here and actually figure out what's going on. Now, the first thing that I would do would be to make sure that it's identifying that there is a data set in here called card UDF. So is it finding our data set? So I'm going to go print ds response right here and update this code. So I'm going to go ahead and run this. Then I'm going to go right here and run it one more time. And as you can see, it is successfully finding our data set, which is good news. So now we then need to go down and we need to troubleshoot it. So I'm going to remove this print statement right here, go down and go print, and then I'm going to have it print this API right here. So I'm going to paste this on in, and I'm going to run this one more time. Now, as you can see, when I run this, it successfully identifies that there is a data gateway connection here, but that connection actually has a gateway ID, as you can see. And the way that it's trying to identify what is or isn't a personal gateway is by saying, hey, get gateway ID. If gateway ID is not populated, then call it a personal connection. So this code is not doing what we want it to, which then means it's back to the drawing board. And that means real human research, not AI powered research. And what I found is there is an actual Fabric REST API called list connections. And one of the things that this AI returns is a connectivity type. So that would be a personal cloud or a on-premise gateway personal. So what you can then do is exactly what I did, which is prompt Claude again to refactor it using connection bindings, at which point it found the right API and it returned a function. So I then put that function over here back into Microsoft Fabric down below under the broken function, ran it, and as you can see, it is now finding the semantic model that is using a personal cloud connection in my workspace dev. That said, this code is still probably not ideal, as it's actually running this API every single time. And remember, this is using Semantic Link Labs. And I showed you that there's a function that already returns an item's connections in Semantic Link Labs. So if we wanted to be the most efficient, this probably should just be referencing that function. So it's the next day, and I've been thinking about what I want you to take from this video. And the first thing is, one, always check to make sure that Semantic Link Labs hasn't already automated what you're trying to automate. But two, when you're using AI, it's incredibly useful, but you also can't just blindly trust it. You need to rely on your own knowledge. And once I knew what I wanted and found the correct API to use, Claude did an excellent job in creating a method for me. I just had to go out and figure out the solution on my own. So when we're talking about AI, we're really not talking about something that's going to replace us, but rather something that's going to augment us and save us time, at least with the current generation of foundational models. If you enjoyed this video, again, give it a thumbs up and subscribe. Given that it's now the next day, I think you can tell I spend a lot of time making these videos, and you subscribing lets me know that, well, you're enjoying them. All right, talk to you in the next one.